Hello my friends, my name is Kanan and today we will start our Django tutorial. So actually this video is the first for Django tutorial. Recently we had our introduction or our first step for Flask, and now we will do the same for Django, and then we will continue for both of them. So I will do parallel tutorials for both technologies, for both web development frameworks. So let's directly get started. So first of all, I will go to Django's website. It is djangoproject.com, and then move to get started with Django. And here we will have our link to our tutorial. So basically it should be take the tutorial. So our goal is go through all this tutorial as a first step. I think that they have 6 steps, so we'll do all of them, and then we will add some our additional custom steps, custom stuffs, and yeah, we will do some additional steps. So let's get started. First of all, I will move to terminal window or command line, and then move to my repositories directory. It is repositories, coder vlogger, and then here we have we can check we have a few tutorials, and I will make one more tutorial, Django, we call it website, and then in this directory, as always, as usual, first we will create virtualenv, we call it a venv, and we use Python version 3. So actually it's an important point, because if you use Python version 2, you will get old version of Python. Okay, let's go back. Yeah, and by old version I mean you will get probably 1.11 if you use Python 2. So it's very important that you use Python 3 if you want to do the same as I do as in this video. So let's create our virtualenv. As a next step, we will activate our virtualenv, venv activate, and within this environment, as a first step, I will call Django pip install Django, and basically this command will install Django within your virtualenv, within your directory. Of course, you can install Django on global level and then use Django admin from global environment. But it is highly recommended that you use virtualenv or pyenv, whatever for virtual environment, and then install Django. Yeah, it will be quite fast because I already have cached version of Django, because I use Django in my other projects. It's installed, and now when I do pip freeze, you probably know this command from our previous videos. It will show you installed packages, currently installed packages. And I think that at this point we can do pip freeze and then save it to requirements.txt. So let's prepare our project structure and then continue with the Django. And I also will move gitignore from our Flask website to current directory. Okay, sorry, not this one, gitignore. And now in our current directory we have gitignore file, we have requirements, and we have a local folder called venv. Shortly about the gitignore, I copy it because from other directory, because it's almost the same. But if you want to know more about the gitignore, you can go to GitHub and search for gitignore. And here you will see gitignore for almost all technologies, all languages, and you can search for Python, and this is actually gitignore for Python, and we use almost the same. Maybe I have some few additional ignore rules, but it's mostly the same file. So let's go back to our command line. I will initialize our git, and let's create our repository for coder vlogger, and we call it tutorial Django website. For now I will not add anything. create repository, and I need only this one. Actually, we have command here, so I will need to add remote URL, and let's add git commit message initial commit. Let's see. And again, if you if you watched my other videos, I need to do this one for all my repositories, so I will do it very quickly. Name is Kenan Rahimov, and email is it's my public email, and I need to call this to append my changes. And then we can call git push origin master, and we will have it here. Come on. That's it for our Git. Now we can continue with the Django. First of all, go back. First of all, I will include, as I did for Flask, I will just show you. I will include time codes in a first comment, so you can skip so you can skip some parts of the video, not all the part. For example, if you are not interested in a Git configuration, you can skip to another one, and etc. So that's for our Flask tutorial. I will do the same, so you will have the same for our Django for this video. It's in the comments already. So you can skip some parts of the video and watch what you need. Let's continue with our tutorial. Let's go back to Django's website. And now, as a first step, when we have Django installed, you can do this one. And by this command, so when you install Django, you already get this command. And now we can do like this if you want. So Django admin, and we can call help, I think, and it will show you all the commands. So this is basically Django admin is a command, and it has sub commands like check, compile messages, etc. And to start a new project, you have to call start project, give a name. I will give Django website, and by this command you will have a new folder in your directory. It will be called same. It's a Django website, and basically it is root for our Django project. So, and we will have everything in this folder. And as a next step, you have to create first application. Good. I know it, and I think it's somewhere here. Okay, say run server before creating application, so we can do the same. So let's move to Django website and run our basic command. So for this we need -py and run server. Come on, server. And now if we go to 8000, and we have our default application, it's a Django, and our install worked successfully. Okay, let's continue. And as a next step, we will have I think we will have our application. So that's it. Let's first create our application. So we did install or create our project, and next step should be creating of application. Let's do it, and then I will explain what's the difference between a project and application. So we will call it the same. It will be pulse, because we will do the same as in Django tutorial as the first steps. Okay, then let's check it. Oh my god, I did it in my root folder, right? No, it's okay. Yeah, it's in pulse, and and okay, now we have our application, and we can do something like this. So now we have, within our Django website directory, we have our database, because when you get database when you run your application, it's automatically created. It's SQLite, but in our next steps we will move to probably Postgres. Then we have our root directory, and we have our manage.py, and finally our application. And difference between application and project. So project is a root. It's just basically a folder with some default structure, and by default structure you have settings, few files, and they are settings.py, urls.py, wsj.py, and manage.py. And applications in your Django project, you can have several applications. For example, one for polls, one for account, one for example articles, one for news. They can be all separate applications with separate models, with separate URLs configuration, and etc. And they all will be within one project. And the reason why you have separate application is that you can use the same application for within your other projects. For example, you have news application, and you can use the same code within your another Django project. So that's a goal. And now we have our polls application and default Django structure. And now let's move to Visual Studio Code because it's more readable. I will move back to my root directory and open it in Visual Studio Code. Okay, and no, let's make it smaller. So yeah, something like this. Close. And something like this. And now we can see that we have requirements, we have gitignore, we have Django website, manage.py, and basically we can check all these files and go through all these files, and you will understand why we need this. But before this, let's check what else we need to do within our first tutorial. Maybe we can do our next steps for first tutorial and then discuss all these files. Yeah, I think that's a good idea, because we don't have too much in our first tutorial. So as a next step, they add they add views within polls application. I will do the same, and we can check it. In our polls we have views, and in this file we can do this one. I will explain what it is and etc. But let's for now just repeat everything and try to run it. And within our urls.py, we should have this code. Okay, we have to create our urls.py and copy paste. And now we can include our polls URL within our global URLs configuration. I will explain this one as well. Yeah, and now I think we can run it. And we should see simple text saying hello world, you are the next post, you are at the post index. Okay, so let's go back to command line, and basically you can do the same within your Visual Studio Code if you like it. So you can open terminal, and here you can type Python. No, you first need to move to your Django website directory, because it is root for your Django application. Django project, sorry, and within this folder you can run Python manage.py run server. Okay, we missed some imports. I think it will be here. Let's just copy paste. Yeah, okay, it is here. Include. So to use this function here, you have to include, and that's it. When you just fix your error, your application will be restarted automatically, and you don't have it in Flask. If you remember, if you check our Flask tutorial, you will see that when you make changes in your code, you have to restart your Flask application manually, but in Django you don't have to do it. It's small, but it's quite useful, so you don't need to run all these commands again. And now let's move to our, actually when I type command save, it will be automatically updated. Okay, maybe it's stupid because we didn't do any change in our code, but it's automatically updated. But it's okay. Let's move to our code. Now, when we have something in our application, you will not see default home page because you update your application. And now to see something working, you have to type proper URL. And now we see our first web page. And I think that now it's time to check our source code, what we did. So I will close our terminal page, terminal window, and we can see also code. So basically, let's start from the beginning. We have our directory. It's called tutorial Django website. It's our root. It's our Git folder. It's our Git repository. It's our parent folder, called whatever. And within this folder, we have our Django project. It's called Django website. And you may ask why we need this one if we can do everything in this directory. And the answer is quite simple, because in your project you usually have requirements, you have Git node, you have your documentation, tests, and etc. etc. So it's wise to separate your project, separate your code from all other stuff. And that's the reason why we have Django website directory separately. And within this directory, we have our Django project. And as a part of our Django project, we have Pulse. It's our Django application. And also we have our default Django files. For example, settings.py, global urls, wsgi.py, manage.py, and etc. Actually, you can read all about all these files in Django's documentation, but shortly, manage.py is a file to manage your project. For example, run server, run test, and etc. WSGI is needed to run your project actually, so you specify, for example, which settings will be used for local environment. If you deploy your application, for example, to AWS, for example, you can put another settings and specify in this file that you need to use another settings file. urls.py, it's a rules for your URLs, basically in its URL routing configuration. Settings, in this file you have all Django related settings, for example, templates, middlewares, database configuration, etc. etc. And actually in this file you specify, for example, URLs. Yeah, you specify where is your global URLs. So this file is quite important because, as you might see, we use it in all manage commands. For example, manage.py, we have this file specified, and also in WSGI you have this file specified. So basically, settings.py, we can say that it is entry point to your application, and also urls.py, it's our global URL configuration, and in our case we have also Pulse. It's another application within our project, and we have a separate URLs file. You might ask why we need two URLs files. Answer is quite simple, because you might have several applications and you want for them to have separate URL structure. And that's the only reason why we have urls.py in Pulse and also in global configuration, because here we say that if you see this path in your URL, go to this file. So that's it. And you don't need to specify all rules for this particular application. You can do it in separate file, in this file, and we will do it in our next tutorials. That's shortly it about structure. What I see from tutorial in the first step, that's it. And let's check our next tutorial. Yeah, database tab and etc. I think for the first video, for the starting with a Django, that should be enough. I hope that we will repeat everything in this video, so we will be ready for our next tutorial, so we can do all this together. I will post them as soon as possible, so for example, when this video is out, we can do it in one day, and next day I hope I will have next tutorial, or in day after we will have our next tutorial, so you can repeat we can do it together actually. And for now, the only step is left. It is to add everything in our Git repository. So I will do another commit and say that Django project setup and Pulse application and git push origin master. I will put source code, link to source code, and link to documentation in description. Please check it out. And let's first check. Yeah, we have it. And actually you can clone this repository and use this repository, so you don't have to type everything we did in this tutorial. but it is highly recommended that you do coding by yourself, because that's the only way to learn programming, to learn new technology. That's it for our video, for this tutorial. See you tomorrow in the next video, and see you in the next tutorial for Django. Bye bye.
3, 2, 1. Network.